Welcome to the Good Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast, where we discuss Masonic topics while drinking an old fashioned. I'm Brian.
And I'm Russ.
So Russ, the question of the day for you,
Hot off the presses,
that you never know what, yet you're always uncomfortable with.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to read this question, bear with me.
Okay.
You refer to yourself as a banker, correct?
At times.
You focus more in the ag lending space, correct?
Correct.
That being said, if you had to choose between the following superpowers, what would they be and why? Which one would you have? You have the chance to be invisible. You have a chance to fly. You have a chance to be immortal, or the ability to read minds. Which superpower would you choose and why?
Well, I saw that movie with Mel Gibson about reading minds, and I think that's a blessing and a curse.
Something women want. What women
want. And so I don't know that that's it. Immortal, I don't know that I want to outlive all of my friends.
Fair.
So, but I wouldn't mind flying because I just like to get from one place to another. So I think flying would be my superpower.
That's good. I'd be invisible for lots of different reasons that I won't discuss. So, Russ, tell the listeners who we have on today.
All right. Today we have Brother Mike Kelley.
So we'll be back. Russ already has a cocktail, so I'm going to go get a cocktail. We're going to grab Mike, and we'll be back. Welcome back. We have illustrious Sir Michael J Kelley, MJK, not to be mistaken with MGK, who is Machine Gun Kelly, that I'm pretty sure not the gangster from the 20s. But do you know who Machine Gun Kelly is from current era?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
He's a rapper, man.
He's a rapper, actor, and now a rock and roll. He just got Best Album this year, a rock and roll album. But I digress. This is MJK, not MGK. So what we like to do on the Good Old Fashioned Masonic Podcast is we like to know as much about the man himself and not just the Mason. So, Michael J., tell us, who is Michael J. Kelley, the man?
Oh, my. So, somebody that grew up around the funeral industry. We'll just go to that first. And
Where at?
Well, my father was in the wholesale funeral supply business, and I was able to go in and out of funeral homes from the time I was about 7, 8 years old. And as got more familiar and understand what was going on, it fascinated me, and decided instead of going into the wholesale business, I was going to go into retail. Also become a licensed funeral director and embalmer, and I went to Kansas City, Kansas Community College, got an associate's degree in mortuary science, and then moved to Eureka.
Where'd you grow up before you moved to Eureka? I always thought you grew up in Eureka.
You hadn't known me long enough. No, I was born and raised here in Wichita.
Okay.
And graduated Wichita South, and then went to Kansas City. Never been in a small town, so decided was an opportunity. And growing up on the wholesale side of funeral business, I knew several salespeople that said Mr. Campbell, that owned the funeral home in Eureka, was a top-notch guy. And I figured there's somebody I could learn from. Had a 1-year apprenticeship to do. And, okay, I'll go to Eureka for a year.
So tell us,
24 years later, I was still there.
Kids? Married?
I have been married. First marriage lasted 35 years, had 2 children, both sons. Colin is a chef, restaurateur in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Ian, the youngest, he's been a professional umpire and currently does some caddying out at Flint Hills, and he and his girlfriend have some nutrition shops.
So Ian grew up really kind of in the shrine around the time that my oldest daughter, so they were kind of shrine kids.
Yep. Yeah.
So they as much as Masons and Shriners have this weird bond, I think the shrine kids have this bond too. It's like that brother and sister that maybe you wish it wasn't a brother and sister, but you fight till the end like they're a brother and sister and look out for them. So that's kind of I think they've all crossed paths from Little Bird to Big Bird in Old Town, and just they kind of look out after each other. So, and you're married now?
Being a younger potentate.
Fair.
When I was potentate in 2001, I was the youngest Midian had by a couple of months. And my goal was to have more family involvement.
Okay.
I have opinions about it that Imperial may have gone too far with some of the involvement.
Sure.
But
yeah.
My kids were going to be a part of my years being potentate. It does take the time, effort, energy. You've got to be away from your family on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I had several applaud me and probably a few cuss me that kids were around, but I think it helped our year as captain of the ship. That we had a great time.
Yeah.
And you are currently married?
I am. And my wife Rose and I have been married just over 2 years now. And
Rose is a gem. She's a
Let's
gem.
toast Rose.
Here's to Rose.
Here's to Rose. So, Russ?
Mike, walk us through your Masonic journey. From the get-go to today.
Very good. Again, my father was a Mason. And he was a member of Albert Pike Lodge. And as I said, after I got out of college, went to Eureka. Mr. Campbell was also a Mason, held an A card, and we would pass out funeral notices in the community. We also serviced the Toronto, Kansas area. Mm-hmm. So it would be like, get in the truck, and we weren't out of the parking lot before he was asking me my entered apprentice obligation. And Q&A. And we'd go all the way to Toronto, pass out our funeral notices, all the way back, he'd be grilling me.
So how old were you when you became a Master Mason?
I was 21.
And then from Master Mason you went where?
Master Mason, I went through Albert Pike, became plural member with Fidelity in Eureka.
Okay.
And then dropped Albert Pike and have remained with... Let's see, that was in 1979.
Okay.
So, got the 25 plus. And anyway, went through Blue Lodge, then on into Scottish Rite. Again, my father's influence. He was class director at Wichita Scottish Rite.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay.
And did that, I cannot remember how many years, but just under 5,000 men went through with Lee Kelley as class director. So he was there for a long time. And he passed in 97 and retired from that just prior in 96, I believe it was.
Okay.
So went through Scottish Rite with he as my class director, and then went across the street to the shrine. Myself and illustrious Sir Ron Capps were both in the November class of 1981. Okay. We had a little time there.
Okay.
Right.
And Ron and I didn't know of each other, but we're both Wichita South grads. Went through the same Scottish Rite class, and then lo and behold, he's right behind me on the shrine line.
Oh,
yeah.
So
Ronnie Capps, you're coming on soon. We got lots to talk about with you as well.
And Ron is one that I have thought the world of the entire time as I got to know him better. And Ron and I laughed if I had some of his business sense and he had some of my political BS. We made a great 1-2 punch for Midian.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So tell us, have you ever served as an officer at the Blue Lodge level?
It is regretful I have not. So the funeral business takes a lot of time, and I could not commit. Sure as heck, we've got a lodge meeting, and I get a death call.
Yeah.
I've got to go.
Right.
Yeah.
And now many a times I sat in lodge, and they said, would you be the Tyler? Would you be the chaplain? Nice fill-in role. But that's as far as it had ever got. And enjoy sitting in lodge. And when I had more time, I attended a little more. And now, new position with the state, I don't have time again.
Yeah.
So I'm out of town 5 days a week.
So who put you on as OG?
Oriental guide, that was illustrious Sir Gary Dunn.
Gary Dunn. And what year did he put you on as OG?
1997.
1997.
Interesting. So if you were a potentate again, what would you do differently?
Oh, one of my goals at the onset of my year as potentate was membership. We've got to find a way to make it fun. And heard y'all in an earlier interview, helping kids and having fun. Well, we changed a little bit as helping kids and having fun in 2001. So I think it was illustrious Sir Gary W. Dunwoody from Scimitar Temple down Little Rock. Gary was one of the first that I became well acquainted with, and November of 1996 was the first all the way in one day class allowed by the Grand Lodge of Kansas. And
96 or 97 under Souter?
96.
96,
Yeah,
okay.
November 96,
Okay.
illustrious Sir Hiram Rank was potentate. And let's see, I cannot recall who the Grand Master was that year, but it was a collaborative effort between the potentates, Grand Lodge, great experiment. There was some abuse of the one-day class and getting guys in. Imperial Sir Dunwoody and I had some great visits, and I told him, and he was rather bemused. At my verbiage, I said it's the warm body syndrome. We are so damn concerned about getting numbers. I said, so if you're a man on the street at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning, by 4:30 in the afternoon on Saturday, you have become a first, second, third degree Master Mason. You're a 32nd degree Scottish Rite Mason. Hell, you've even been in your first Shrine Parade. And your mind quit about 8:30 because the mind absorbs what the ass endures, and you're already tired. You've been up early. You've sat through the first half of the second degree, and your mind is gone. Trying to remember what all...
Especially all of that in one day. It's different than just Blue Lodge. Yeah, that's a lot to soak in.
And I told Imperial Sir Dunwoody, I said, I'm tired of the warm body syndrome, that you've got guys coming into something that probably has not been properly explained to them of what they're getting into. And then they're coming in the front door and there's no gatekeeper to see them walk out the back door. I don't think we were cultivating them. That falls into some of my thinking. Let's get the family involved.
Right.
And let's make sure the man knows what he's getting into. And with that, I don't know. I think we've worked hard on it. I commend the Grand Lodge. Most worshipful Mark Nelson and I sat at a district meeting at the Masonic home here in Wichita, and I, of course, got to speak before him, and when I sat down, Mark said, I never thought I would hear a potentate make comments like that about membership. And it was a good thing. So I was not putting down anything, but it's just the idea we need to work harder.
Mm-hmm. Fair. Fair.
So, as your time as potentate, what was one of the most challenging tasks you had?
Membership again.
Okay.
So my goal, I came in, Midian was fortunate. We had kind of gone over the top of the roller coaster hump, that we were on a downward trajectory. I had about 4,200 members when the year started, and my goal was to leave illustrious Sir Cap's 4,000. I think we came in at 39.97. But
it's an interesting time because that's post 9/11 that had happened. People were freaking out. So, there's a lot of stuff going on around that time.
Yeah, matter of fact, potentate's trip I had was to Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was one of the strangest feelings I ever had was to see National Guard and service members walking through Charlotte Airport with
fully geared up,
automatic weapons, and it just felt different. And, and like I said, membership is something that we can talk about on 100 podcasts. And never solve the problem. But I'd heard y'all talk before, time management, or not time management as much as how much time do you allocate to all of the things you want to do in life. And guys came home from World War II, Korea, We had 3 TV stations. You had a half a dozen radio stations you listened to. You put on your suit twice a month. Your wife put on her dress twice a month. And or you put it on 4 times. You went to lodge twice. You and she both went to Eastern Star. That was a way of communication and sharing. And then that thing is we call the World Wide Web came about, and Vietnam veterans came home. They were not as appreciated as they should have been.
They got left behind.
And their idea was, you know, you don't want me, I don't want you. And they were not joiners. There's not a civic, professional, any organization, even the veterans organization saw a decline in membership. Guys just did not want to be a member of anything, and thus you saw the decline in membership in every organization. Men's Health magazine had an article about men joining fraternal organizations or just men's organizations. Out of the top 10 fraternal organizations ranked number 8.
Wow.
So that was a slap. We need to wake up and find something else to do. So again, membership is probably the most important thing.
Makes sense.
Within our organization. And again, let's make it fun.
Makes sense. So we're going to have a couple of questions about elected positions. I'm going to jump past when you were a potentate. Russ is going to ask you another one. So you were recorder at Midian for several years. From when to when, roughly?
I was elected in 2003 and served until January of 2013. So I got 10 years in.
Okay. So what was the primary function of that position, just for people that don't know what the recorder is? And in addition, what was the craziest thing you dealt with as a recorder?
Oh God, something I couldn't put on tape. But,
okay, so something that you can share, and we're not talking about the Article 30 that I had put on me. That's not one of them. So, talk to everyone what the recorder is about.
Recorder would be the executive secretary. My job is not to tell the potentate how to run his year. Had a great past potentate. Hugh Dennis says, I had my year to screw things up. It's somebody else's turn. And my job as recorder was to make sure the physical operation of Midian Shrine was adhered to through our bylaws and the imperial bylaws, and just to make sure we were legal. And I was asked several times, why didn't you tell the potentate he couldn't do that? Well, he could do that. And I might tell him one-on-one, it may not have been a good idea,
right.
But he is sure within his right to do it. And and probably sitting down with units, having a fight between their own members, be it bylaws, going to a parade. There's so many little things that guys like to bicker about. And,
dudes and egos.
Oh, indeed. And I used a line when I was potentate that I continued to use as recorder, that you can bring me your problem, but if you want me to solve it, there's probably not going to be anybody happy when it's over. Don't make me make a decision for you. And so that held true as potentate and as recorder.
All right.
So of all of the elected positions,
excluding recorder,
on the divan, which one did you like the least and why? And it can be the position or duties of the position, function. A job function.
We've learned a lot.
Yeah.
Probably high priest and prophet.
And for what reason?
You've just figured out as Oriental guide, oh my God, what did I get myself into?
And high priest and prophet is year 2 at Midian.
Year 2 is HPP, and now you've about got it figured out. Oh my God, I'm in the deep end of the swimming pool. What am I going to do? And then when you go on to assistant reband, chief reband, you should have everything penciled on a calendar when you're assistant reband. Chief reband, you get out your ink pen and start putting it in.
Okay.
Right.
But make sure you've got an ink eraser because things will change.
Okay. So I'm going to let Russ hit this question first because this is going to segue into the next question.
Okay.
So about the potentate's pen.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. these questions I don't always know in advance, so he puts them on here. So what's funny is, of all the Potentate's pins, yours is my favorite. So the question is that Brian put on my list to ask today.
Fair.
Talk to us about your Potentate pin and how did that come about?
Well,
Describe it. Describe it for those watching.
okay. Well, again, it falls to my profession. When you're on an embalming table, you're 10 toes up at the end of the table. And old school identification was with a toe tag that had your name and which funeral home you were going to, date and time of death, and the doctor signing the death certificate. So I wasn't trying to be a prognosticator to say Shrine was dying, but everybody gets to die. And
so it has 10 toes.
10 toes up with a toe tag hanging off.
And the toe tag, did that have your name in there?
Yeah. Michael J Kelley, Potentate.
That's great.
I loved it. It's my favorite pin.
In 2001, I was only intrigued and honored because illustrious Sir Jeff Lee from Abu Ben Adam in Springfield called up, Michael, can I steal your Potentate's pin? So there are 2 temples that have the 10 toes.
We got to cheers.
Cheers for probably the funniest or coolest post pin.
And I believe we ordered 5,000 pins, and right now I think I've got maybe a half dozen of them left.
Wow.
That I have held because I've had people send me requests with the self-addressed stamped envelope.
I still have one.
I have one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I still enjoy wearing them, and people get a kick out of them because it was a little dark, but very humorous.
Speaking of dark and humorous,
We need
before my time,
yes,
was there a coffin used during your installation? And tell us about that.
at the Scottish Rite, my dear friend Russ Smith, and illustrious Sir Smith, both on the stage crew over there, and they have a casket that is used in some of the degree work. At installation rehearsal, they had the casket for the altar, and I thought that was most appropriate. They all got a kick out of doing it for me. And as for other casket use at my Potentate's Ball, I brought my hearse over from Eureka and went out to the cotillion early Saturday morning trying to figure out how come my aides hadn't got in to start decorating. But as I pulled down the drive into the cotillion, there are several police cars and crime scene tape. There had been a dance out there on Friday night that there was a homicide in the parking lot. So as I pull in the hearse, all these police officers.
Oh, no.
Trying to figure out, I figured the body's already gone, but why is that hearse coming in here? And then we unload a orange casket that matches the Motor Patrol. And I came into the Potentate's Ball in a casket with my foot hanging out and the toe tag on it.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
That's great.
All right.
Got to play with the strength.
Get back to a little bit more serious topic here.
We must.
In the last year or two, any new Masons, Shriners that just stick out to you that seem to be ones that we need to keep an eye on?
Oh, a name I'd heard earlier was one that I don't want to pile on this poor guy, but Jim Hallberg, met him, and he and his wife serving as chief aide. I believe he's somebody to keep an eye out for.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to placate my two hosts here, but when you came in, I had my eye on both of you, and despite the fun I've had with Brian over the years, fun and non-fun, but
let's just digress a bit. It's 2011, 12, 11.
Or no,
No, it's 12. It's 2011 or 12. So as a
11.
past potentate,
11.
Michael J. Kelley knows how to work strengths and weaknesses of people and knows how to play on their egos. So I get a call, I'm paraphrasing, he's like, "Hey, Brian, how you doing?" I'm thinking, why is Michael J Kelley calling me? What did I do again? So he was Director General at the time for SCAFRA, which was the Shrine Circus and Fundraising Association. It was an international organization that really gave tips and ideas and tricks for all the shrine centers across the world of how to raise money. Everything from circuses to sportsman's event to bingo cards, whatnot. So he convinced me on a very short notice, maybe a couple of weeks, hey, can you be somewhere in Tennessee? Nashville. For this, we're going to take the spot over. You're going to do it. I think you'll do great. You can't say no. And next thing I know, I'm on this. And he said at the time, because this was when I thought this would be so cool, this will be a fast way for people to see you move up. And boy, you could be potentate before you know it. Well, no way for me. However, so as much as when I got to Nashville and the group I was working with, they ran it a particular way. Mm-hmm. As much as I didn't enjoy that part of it, I learned a lot of how to be a director general and kind of manage stuff on a larger scale. I hadn't done that before. So as much as I cursed you for that, I appreciate that little bit of shenanigans, misdirection that you put on me for that.
I threw you to the wolves, but you came out smelling like a rose.
It was good. There was a lot going on that year because it ended up being 2012 that it was in Wichita because I was on the divan, I was membership, I was director general, and junior warden at Pike. So there was a lot.
But other than that, you didn't have anything going on.
There was a lot going on. There was a lot going on that year. So, Russ, I'm going to let you take one of these last ones before I get the most important question of every podcast.
Okay. You know, I think we've asked this of many people, and I think he's covered it to a certain extent. So I think we might know what it is. But, Mike, if you had a magic wand for the shrine and you could just wave it over, what would you fix? What would you do with it? What do you wish?
I wish we could go back to the glory days of early 80s when our membership was at its height. We had almost 500,000 Shriners, and Midian had 8,200. And to have that type of an organization, the men's fraternal organization, inclusive of having the families around, I still think it's important to have a men's fraternal organization that we can be together and have an adult beverage and share ideas. What we learned in our first degree is we're all the same. And you may have a lot more money than me, but when we sit in lodge, we are the same. And the best ideas in the world are stolen and improved upon.
Yep.
And I know, again, I don't want to blow up my interviewers here, but getting to know you guys and hearing your ideas are fabulous. To hear the younger generation, as it were, say what they think should be done. And I think if we could improve upon some of you guys' ideas to turn them over to who's in the leadership roles now would be fabulous. So,
yeah. So
the time has come.
The time has come. So on the screen, you have 4 people. I'm going to explain it for those who don't know who they are. You like to swing a golf club every once in a while?
Oh, when I can.
When you can. So one of these great golfers must go. You've got Jack Nicklaus. You've got Arnold Palmer. You've got the lefty Phil Mickelson. And you've got Tiger Woods. If one has to go forever like they never existed, who would it be and why? I think I know your answer.
Oh.
We're going to have some interesting debate on this. Who would it be?
You're going to write it down and see if you're right.
No, I think I know which one it is.
He's told me earlier.
Oh, okay. Well, lefty's got to go.
I said it would be
Fair
lefty.
enough. Yeah.
And why? Because I think the rationale is going to be the same.
Well, Arnold, in the era of television, helped bring golf to the forefront. Jack Nicklaus being the all-time leader on majors. Tiger presenting a solid challenge to Jack's record, but it won't be attained. It's going to take another generation of golfers to match Jack's 18. And Phil, while he was exciting to watch, didn't have quite the impact on golf that the other three have.
Not the iconic.
No.
Right. Would you have agreed with all that? I see. That was the rationale that I went through. The Jack and Arnold, to me, were the trailblazers. Tiger took it and really brought in a whole new generation of golfers, and Phil just didn't move the needle as much. But he was also
fun to watch.
It's very fun. I mean, but that is all we have for the good old-fashioned Masonic podcast. Michael J. Kelley, thank you for coming on, and thanks for watching us. Don't forget to follow us on LinkedIn.
Cheers.
Cheers to you guys.
YouTube, and Facebook.